Hey Grande Alive, this is Coffee with Will, brought to you by Northwest Furniture and Mattress, Grande, Ronde Hospital, Anything 2 Digital, EONI, Valley Realty, Country Financial, and Les Schwab Tire Center. And I'm here today with Nathan Larson, who is a local marketing manager of Grande Ronde Retirement, which is a local elderly care home and independent, correct me if I'm wrong and I say this, independent living facility in La Grande.
Yes.
So he is here today to talk to me a little bit about himself and also about assisted care for the elderly. So thank you so much for joining me here today, Nathan.
Thanks for having me.
So why don't you tell me a little bit about how you came to working in the elderly care industry, if you could call it that.
Yes. So actually, I actually went to college for secondary education. I was going to be a teacher for high school students. I majored in history. I minored in speech. And that's what I was going to do with my life. And I got out of college.
Speech as in like public speaking?
Like
or
public
like
speaking, acting, drama, a lot of different things. You know, we did an hour-long monologue. That was like my final project at the end of my college career.
Sure.
And that was exciting. So that was what I wanted to do with my life. And so I got out of college, and you know, like a lot of people, you get out of college and you have trouble finding a job. It's like, wait a minute, didn't I go to college for a job? Now
this is not how this is supposed to work.
I know. So, anyways, but what happened was I ended up becoming a event coordinator for a local nonprofit organization, and I would coordinate events for children. And I did that for about 6 years. During that time, I met my wife, who is originally from Indiana. She moved to La Grande when she was 10. She's been there about 17 years.
Yeah.
And so we got married. We lived down in California, finished up that job there, just ready for a change of life,
living in California,
life
after any period of time, you're ready for a change.
Oh yes, especially from the Los Angeles area. There's traffic everywhere. There's like if you want.
Warning: the opinions expressed in this video are not necessarily the opinions of La Grande Alive. So
yes.
Go ahead.
And so if you live in California and you say, hey, how long does it take to get to such and such place? You give them two versions. You say, here's the one with traffic, and here's the one without traffic. And both of those time spans vary in great depths.
Absolutely.
And so we were just ready for a change of pace, change of lifestyle. So we moved up here to be with her family, and it's just been one of the best moves we've ever made in our life. I love Union County and La Grande. There's just so many things to do. The people are real and genuine here. It's a slower paced lifestyle. It's just, I feel like I'm, going as a kid, I go to summer camp all the time. And living up here feels like I'm living at summer camp every single week. It's the best. There's always things to do. And so I was so excited to move up here. And so I just, when I got up here, I didn't have any idea what I was going to do here.
Yeah.
And that's kind of hard on somebody because you're like, well, I got to take care of my family. I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
So, I started to look for some jobs, and I eventually got a job that supported me for 13, 14 months.
Yeah.
And it was a great job. It was with Boise Cascade, real good company to work for. They took care of me, and they were a really good employer. And so, but I wanted to work, with people, and I wanted to, I really wanted to work with people and serve people. And so I was looking for a job more along those lines. And eventually, my wife, who works for Heart and Home Hospice Company, she would go and visit Grande Ronde Retirement a couple times a week. And she got there one time and they said, hey, we need a marketing director. We want you to be our marketing director.
Wow.
And they wanted my wife to apply for the job, which was great. And she was telling me about that. And she's like, but I really love doing what I do at Heart and Home. I love it. And I love serving the people that are patients. And so she looked at the director and said, well, I would love to, I know a guy. That's right. She said, I know a guy who I think would be interested in this job. And so she told me about it later that day. And I'll be honest with you, I never thought of working in this industry before.
Sure.
Growing up, we would go to these nursing homes. And we get there, and I didn't like it because, everyone was sick, and everyone was just there because they didn't have a choice, and I felt bad. I was like, I don't know if I could make a living there, And so, anyway, so I went to look at Grande Ronde Retirement online, and I got to their website, and it was just everybody was having fun over there. I was looking at all these activities that the elderly do. I was looking at the management staff and how they look like they really enjoy it. So I looked, and I just kind of thought, well, at least I need to go check it out. So I went, checked it out, and sure enough, management staff is there's a great group of people to work with who just are there because they want to be there.
Yeah.
Not because they have to be, because they want to serve those people. And so I was like, wow, that's interesting. And I walked into Grande Retirement, and it didn't smell or anything like that. It was like a hotel. Yeah. And I was like, wow, this is just not, it just blew my mind. Like, this is not what I expected. And so I applied for the job, and they said, well, why do you want this job? And that's always the question, You
can never just say, I just need a paycheck. Yeah. Like, you've always got to come up with a reason there, like, I want this job.
I'm like, well, yeah, I got to support my family. Yeah. But on top of that, above and beyond, it was, why do you want to serve? Why do you want to be here? And I told them, really, and this has been always my heart, is I want to serve people. And I want to be a blessing to people with my life. At the end of my life, it's not about the possessions that I make or the houses and land and property that I have. It's about the relationships that I've surrounded myself with and the people that I've been able to impact with my life. And so that's kind of always been my heart. And so sure enough, I told them I just want to serve people. And if I can do that here, then man, let's do it. And so they gave me the job a few days later, and I started there. And it has just been one of the best jobs I've ever had in my life. And I tell them that every time. I love everything about my job. It's just everything that I've ever wanted to be in a job. It's been really fulfilling.
Wow.
So
well, it comes across.
You asked,
So. No, hey, yeah, and you answered very well. So the next thing so it's interesting to me because your wife is in Heart and Home care, and you are in the Ronde Retirement.
Right.
So it seems like you guys have sort of a shared care for taking care of people who are, in areas of their life where they need care for.
Well, yeah, that's my wife. She loves people, and it's so genuine in her heart in the way she speaks to them and the way she cares for them, the way she gives them her time. It's so real and genuine. That was one of the things that attracted me to her was, man, this person is genuine. And it's not just something that she has to do in order to get a paycheck. It's something that she wants to do because she cares about people. And that quality is a great quality in somebody. And sometimes it's hard to find. But we found it in her. And our life has been great. Our marriage has been great. Everything has been wonderful, and so she is in hospice care.
Yeah.
She does take care of people, and I don't know if you know anything about hospice, but hospice is
it's rough.
It is very rough because everybody that's on hospice care, they've been given a terminal diagnosis.
Sure.
And 6 months to live or less.
Yeah.
And some people live longer than that, but they have that terminal diagnosis where they are on their way out, unfortunately. And, sometimes it's difficult to talk about and it's hard, but she is amazing. She's been there for 2 years, and she does great with that.
So that kind of leads me into my next question, which, working before the camera turned on, we were kind of talking about, I was talking about the fact that my fiance worked in a care home, and it was very difficult. It was very difficult work, And he explained to me the differences between an independent care home, an assisted care home, and the memory union. And Ronde Retirement is an independent care home primarily, correct?
Right. We have two. We actually have two of those. We cover two of those bases. We have an independent living side, and then we have an assisted living side.
Yes.
So people who are getting up, they have to be 62 or older. So I've already chosen my apartment for when I get to 62 because I am looking forward to independent living when I'm 62. So I've already chosen my apartment. I've got it all planned out. I just have to wait another 30 years. But I'll
yeah, you don't want to start showing up in that room, like just hanging out there when the resident comes in.
Yeah. So
that'd be weird. Don't do that.
Well, no, not for me.
Just getting comfortable.
Yeah. Just trying out the bed.
Just trying out the bed. Yeah. Don't worry about me.
Yeah. So independent living is basically somebody who comes in and they don't have to worry about grocery shopping, cooking, cleaning, preparing. They don't have to worry about housekeeping. We have a housekeeping staff that comes in and cleans their apartment. They don't have to worry about transportation. We have transportation to and from doctor's appointments, therapy appointments. We have Walmart, Bimart, Safeway, Dollar Tree, all the shopping experiences. We have a lot of exciting activities. Anything that happens in the Grande, we're there.
Yeah.
You know, crazy days, the rodeo, Elgin Opera House, we're all there for those activities. And so it's just kind of a community of senior adults who get together and they live out the retirement with just as few, you know, daily chores as possible.
Some of the basic necessities are taken care of.
Exactly. So then a step above that would be assisted living. And assisted living kind of takes care of some of the more daily chores, you know, bathing, getting dressed, transferring from one place to another, managing medications, which is a very big issue. And so they take care of a lot of those types of things. And we have one of the most amazing nursing staffs you'll ever find in La Grande. I mean, we have a resident care coordinator and a nurse who, in the same sense, they genuinely care about their residents. And you can see that in the way they speak to them, the way they talk to them, in the way that they document and take care of everything that needs to be taken care of on the nursing side. They're very thorough, very good, because they love what they do and they care for the people that they're with. And so we have a great nursing staff. And of course, all those nursing staff, they have support staff, resident aides, med aides, and they are assisting the day-to-day tasks with taking care of people.
Sure.
And so that's kind of assisted living. So we have independent living and assisted living.
Yes. So now, and then the third one is memory care unit, which is they do not have there. So, so my question was that it's that, like, no matter what you are, memory care, assisted living, or independent living, working with people who, you know, are in this phase of their lives can be trying, but it can also be very rewarding. So maybe talk a little bit about some of the different trials that you know, you don't work necessarily directly with them, but you work with people, you still work with the individuals that live there. Talk maybe about some of those trials and those rewards that come from this line of work.
So I have a great respect for our nursing staff, you know, and I look at what they do, and honestly, I think to myself, I don't know if I would have enough patience for that. I don't know if I would. If I could really do that effectively. I mean, I'm sure I could do it, but could I really do it as effective as they? I mean, they have a great attitude every single day. And I look at them like, how do they do that? Because it's so difficult and it's so hard. And I have a great respect for our nursing staff, our resident aides, med aides. They do so well with dealing, you know, with the day-to-day tasks that their senior adults have. So it's difficult. So some of the trials you see, you know, there's some people that they get to that point in life and they realize they can't do what they used to do a year or two ago.
Yeah.
And it's like all of a sudden their whole life as they know it changes.
Yeah.
And whereas they were getting out, they were going shopping on their own, they were doing the day-to-day chores just as they've always done, all of a sudden they're not able to do it as effectively as before. And they start realizing, I need some help in this area.
Yeah.
And that can be a very difficult time for any of us, not just senior, any of us. I mean, can you imagine all of a sudden, you know, your ability to walk is gone? How would you feel? You know, it'd be
probably pretty miserable considering how much I run. That'd be hard. Yeah.
It'd be really difficult to give up something that really we all take for granted each day. And all of a sudden that's gone. And, you know, it's not necessarily somebody's walking ability, but it's maybe something cognitively, or maybe it's just they don't have the strength to walk through Walmart as they used to do. You know, and all of a sudden the things that they have done on a regular basis is all of a sudden gone. And that's a difficult time for them. And I see that a lot. That's one of the main things that I see that people talk to me about, you know, that some of our senior adults talk to us about.
So how do you guys kind of step into those people's lives and help them through those times?
That's a great question, you know, and obviously we help with those things. You know, we have people that will help transfer them, get them to one place to another. We have people that will help get them dressed and manage their medications. And that's really what assisted living is. It's taking care of those daily needs where all of a sudden you're not able to do that yourself. And so we step in and we do that. And, you know, one of the things we encourage them to have is you know, no matter what life throws at you, there's always a silver lining. There's always some way. You can choose to be depressed and to be angry maybe at life, you know, at what life's thrown you. Or you can choose to just say, you know what, I'm going to do the best with what I have. And I promise you, the people that have that kind of attitude, they have the best lives, because it's a mindset where it's not it's choosing. It's a choice. They choose to have a good attitude even when life has thrown them some lemons, you know, and even when life isn't as what they'd expect or what they want, but they choose to have a good attitude. And it's so encouraging to me, because oftentimes I look and I think, man, would I have the same attitude as them? You know, would I be able to do what they do? And when they have that attitude, it just is such an encouragement to me, and it's so rewarding and so fulfilling. It helps you to be able to get through, you know, your tasks that we take for granted, of course, you know, and we're thinking, well, man, if this was gone, you know, would I be able to act like that? And so it's very rewarding to see that in people's lives.
Yeah.
So
I used to live across from a graveyard, and sometimes I would go over and take walks in the graveyard. And you know, when you live that close to you know, either the graveyard or people who are in, you know, that time of their lives, or they're elderly, the latter half of their life, it makes you think about yourself and where you will be in that time. What will be on my gravestone? What will my attitude be during that time of the life? And it's kind of a nice, it's kind of sometimes a nice, but at the same time thought-provoking exercise in reflection, you know, kind of a thing. So, so I think we're kind of coming to the end. So that all being said, everybody has parents. Everybody has people who are older than them. Everyone has loved ones and people who they care about who are older than them. Maybe what are some things that people either can do for themselves or do for their loved ones who are that are coming up to that time of their life, to help them into that time of their life to live a fulfilling life, even in the situation where they're in independent or assisted living?
Yeah, great question. You know, and that is a question that I get all the time, all the time. You know, it's difficult for us because our parents are our parents. They've taken care of us. And now all of a sudden those two roles are reversed. And now my mom or my dad needs help. What do I do? Where do I go? How do I manage taking care of my mom and at the same time taking care of my responsibilities and my own family and my you know, my job and my career? How do I juggle all of those things at once? How do they don't even know where, most people don't even know where to start. And so it's a great question. So first of all, I would say there's going to be some difficult conversations ahead, you know, and it's something that we don't like. We don't like difficult conversations, but some of the most difficult conversations are also some of the most rewarding. And so a lot of people come in and they say, hey, you know, I've got to take care of my mom. And they try it out, and they say, okay, well, we're gonna move in. She's gonna move into here in our home, and now it's their responsibility to take care of their mom full time, and they find soon that it's a full-time job. You know, and I don't know if you ever try to manage 2 full-time jobs, but it's a lot of work.
No, I haven't.
And I couldn't do it either. And so that's really where assisted living comes in. You know, and a lot of times people struggle because they think, well, you know, if I put my mom in assisted living, you know, I'm going to be taking her freedom away. You know, and it's almost like I'm putting her in here and she's going to stay there for the rest of her life. And, you know, some people look at that way. But what people find is that when their mom comes to this place or their dad comes to this place, they find that the time that they spend with their parents is quality time. It's maybe not quantity, where they're with you all the time, but the time that you spend is quality time. Where now you're not burdened down with, okay, I've got to make sure I get her medications managed. I got to make sure I get her in the shower. I got to make sure that I've got to do all these daily tasks that, you know, she has to do and that has to be accomplished, and they're my responsibility now. And so they find that when they come and you know, a lot of times family will come and visit a few times a week, and it's great because they can come and have lunch with their parents. They can come. We have a family room with, you know, TV and we make our homemade ice cream, and so people will grab a scoop of ice cream.
Geez, I might have to come over there and get some of that sometime.
Come on over. I know.
Mom, Dad, get down here. We get homemade ice cream.
Are you 62?
Are you 62 yet? When are you turning 62?
Exactly. And they come, they grab some ice cream, and they sit down and they have a great conversation. And it's that time where people leave and they're just like, I'm so glad I spent time with my parents. You know, it was so good to spend time with them. But then at the same time, though, they're not burdened down with all the daily tasks. And so that's what people find. And so that conversation, the other thing I get is people come in and say, you know, I know my mom needs to be here. I know my dad needs to be here. My parents, they need to be here. But I can't convince them that this is the
Yeah.
right choice, you know?
Yeah.
And it's difficult because going back to that original conversation we had, you know, it's hard when senior adults realize I can't do what I used to be able to do.
Sure.
And they hold on to it, you know, with that facade of, okay, if I'm able to do it, if I'm able to do it myself, I'm still independent.
Yeah.
And I'm still able to hold on to, you know, what I know as my life.
Yeah.
So it's difficult for them. And so there's some difficult conversations. And when I talk to people about this, I usually emphasize a few things. One is there's a safety aspect. You know, a lot of times people come into our facility because something has happened, you know, and they've fallen and they've been stuck for hours and they couldn't reach anybody. And so it scares them and they realize, man, I do need help. I do need help. And what I emphasize to people is don't let that be the deciding factor to move into an assisted facility. You know, don't let a tragedy happen before we make the preventative measures.
Sure.
You know, act while it is still good. And, you know, because a lot of times when there's a tragedy like that, there's a fall or something like that, it affects the rest of their life. You know, they break a bone or they hurt one of their joints that you know are kind of beyond repair because of the age of somebody. And so they let that be a deciding factor to get moving into an assisted facility. But then what it does is it makes the remainder of the time even more miserable than what it would have been if we had just done things a month earlier. You know? So there's a safety aspect that you got to remember.
Sure.
So that's one of the big things. Then there's a peace of mind aspect. You know, if I knew that my parents were in a facility that was much safer than where they're at right now, where they have help, everyone wears a pendant. So if they fall or something, and click that pendant and boom, the medical staff is there right then. You know, and so that peace of mind, knowing that if something did happen, it wouldn't be hours and hours and hours until they were found. It would be a matter of minutes.
Yeah.
And so that's another thing. It provides peace of mind to the children. And so
Sure.
we emphasize that with moms and dads and say, hey, you know, there's a peace of mind aspect that you give to your children by moving in here. And a lot of, you know, it's great because there are some people who move in and say, you know, I know that this would be beneficial to my kids because they're always worried about me. And so moving in here, it just takes away that
Stress
fear
about the
factor.
stress.
Yeah, and the stress, yeah. And it takes away that from my kids.
Yeah.
And it provides something for them. And so there's that I usually emphasize. So peace of mind, safety, and then I also really emphasize that by moving into an assisted facility, you actually have more freedom. Because before, you know, somebody may be relying on their kids or their close friends to take them to doctor's appointments, to take them shopping, to do this and that for the other thing. They're calling somebody in to do laundry for them or to prepare their meals for them. And so so they're really dependent upon everybody else. But moving into an assisted living facility where all that's done for you, you don't have to worry about being a bother to somebody. That's all taken care of. And you can just focus on living life to the best of your ability. And so those are usually the three things that I emphasize. There's actually more independence in assisted facility. There's a safety aspect, and there's a peace of mind aspect.
Sure.
So those are three things that I always try to emphasize to people when they ask me those kind of questions.
So, but it all comes down to having that conversation. And
Yes.
that's the conversation. So, and here's a question, really brief question for you. Is there ever a situation where maybe an assisted care home isn't the right answer for someone that's at that age?
Yes. So is there ever a time when it's not the case? And that's a difficult question because every situation is unique.
Yeah.
You know, I can't say all these people that are in this group need to fit into this cookie cutter shaped answer. You know, and every situation is unique.
Yeah.
And so really what I would emphasize is for the person who's inquiring is to look at what is offered by assisted living. And see if it fits into their specific situation, their scenario.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of different scenarios that can play out, and so every situation is unique.
But you wouldn't know the uniqueness of the situation unless you have the conversation.
Exactly. Yeah. And usually it's not one conversation.
It's
usually numerous
series of
conversations. You know, a lot of conversations, and you just keep talking about it, and you keep bringing it up, and eventually somebody understands, you know, this is probably what's best.
Yeah.
And they realize all the benefits that there are to an assisted living facility.
Sure. Well, thank you so much for coming in and chatting with me. It was
thanks
really
for inviting
great
me. This
to
was
have
great.
you in here. Yeah, it was super fun. And thank you, Grande Live, for tuning in to Coffee with Will. The Coffee with Will is brought to you by Northwest Furniture and Mattress, Ronde Hospital, Anything Digital, EONI, Country Financial, Valley Realty, and Les Schwab Tire Center. Please make sure to get into those businesses and frequent them. You could not have this if it wasn't for those businesses. They are great. They love the community, and they're supportive of local events and all of the local stuff that's going on. So please, if you see them, thank them. And also, please like and share this video and tune in to LaGrandeLive.tv for more local content. I'm Will Bowman.